Tonight, Sofia Reyes will meet the man who could unravel everything she has spent her entire life building, or give her a reason to start over completely. Luca Cani is not the kind of man a focused, ambitious 21-year-old journalism student should ever get close to. He is Mafia. He is ruthless. He is the kind of darkness that doesn't just dim your light, it rewires you from the inside out. But some people walk into your life and rearrange everything, and love, when it decides to find you, does not check your schedule first. Stay with the story until the very end. Hit like and drop in the comments, what city are you watching from? I want to see how far the story has traveled. Now let me tell you about the night it all began. The penthouse was on the 32nd floor, and Sofia Reyes had never been above the 12th in her life. She stood in the elevator, watching the numbers climb, feeling the gap between her world and this one with every floor that passed. She didn't belong here. She belonged in the university newsroom at midnight, surrounded by cold coffee and breaking stories, not in a mirrored lift that smelled like money. But Camila had called her 3 times. "You have to come, Sol. My brother is throwing this thing, and I need at least one person there who won't be reporting back to my father." That was how Camila Cani operated. She weaponized friendship like other people used currency, casually, confidently, knowing it would land. Sofia had agreed because Camila was her best friend since their first year at university, the girl who had sat next to her in Introduction to Media Ethics and whispered, "This professor has never held a real microphone in his life." They had been inseparable since. What Camila had not mentioned, what she never mentioned, was that her brother Luca would actually be there. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Sofia stepped out and immediately felt the weight of the room. Crystal and low lighting, guests in clothes that probably cost more than her semester fees, the kind of party that looked effortless and cost a fortune. She tugged at her blazer, adjusted the strap of her bag, and went looking for Camila. She found her near the bar, laughing, animated, champagne in hand. Camila's face lit up when she saw Sofia. "You actually came. You called me 3 times. That's how much I needed you here." Camila handed her a glass. "Drink this. You look like you're doing a threat assessment." Journalism habit. Sofia sipped the champagne and let her eyes move around the room. "Whose apartment is this?" "Luca's." Camila's voice shifted, barely, but Sofia caught it. She was good at catching things people didn't intend to show. "He's here somewhere. Don't make it weird." "Why would I make it weird? I've never met him." "Exactly. So just don't go looking for a story. This is not that kind of night." Camila was already being pulled away by someone across the room. "Eat something? I'll find you later." Sofia stood alone, champagne in hand, scanning the room the way she always did. Exits, clusters of people, anything that felt off. She noticed the security before she noticed anything else. They were too still, too placed, too aware. This was not casual private security. This was something deliberate. She slipped away from the main room, following the hallway deeper into the apartment. It was quieter here, lined with framed photographs, cities at night, architectural shots. Nothing personal. At the end of the hall, she found a door ajar and pushed it open. A study. Floor-to-ceiling shelves, a wide desk, the kind of room that felt like it had absorbed decades of serious thought. Sofia stepped inside. "You're in the wrong room." She turned. He was leaning against the far wall, arms crossed, watching her with an expression that gave nothing away. Tall, dark suit, the kind of face that was almost too precise. Sharp jaw, dark eyes, a small scar cutting through his left brow. He looked like someone who had never once been surprised by anything. "I was looking for somewhere quiet," Sofia said, because she refused to apologize for existing in a room. "This is the quietest room in the apartment." He didn't move. "Which means you were serious about it." "I find loud rooms exhausting." She met his eyes. "You're Luca." A pause. "You know who I am." "Camila mentioned you." She looked around the room, at the books, the framed maps. "This is your apartment, which makes this your study, which means I'm the one standing in the wrong place. You can stay." He said it like a verdict rather than an invitation. "You're Sofia, the journalist. Journalism student. There's a difference." "Is there?" One of them, I'm still learning to be. She tilted her chin. Does that worry you? Having a journalism student in your study? Something shifted in his face. Not quite amusement. Something more careful than that. Should it? Most people in your position think so. Most people in my position don't let journalists into their study. You didn't let me in. I wandered. He was quiet for a moment, studying her the way she was used to studying other people. It was disorienting, being read rather than reading. What are you writing about? He asked. For university. Investigative piece on how legitimate business fronts are used to move money through real estate. She watched his face. You're not going to react to that? Should I? It's usually the part where people ask me to change the subject. I'm not most people. He pushed off the wall, walked to the bookshelves, pulled down a volume and held it out. You should read this if you're writing about money and power. Most journalists go after the wrong thread. Sofia looked at the book, a dense economic text she recognized from her professor's recommended list. You've read it? Twice. He set it back. Go back to the party, Sofia. This room isn't safe for you. Safe how? He met her eyes. In every way that matters. And then he walked past her, out the door, and was gone. Sofia stood alone in the study for a long moment, heartbeat unsteady. She had been warned off stories before. By politicians, by corporate lawyers, by people with real power and real reasons to keep her quiet. None of them had made her feel like this, like the warning was also, somehow, an invitation. She went back to the party. She did not find Camila. She did not see Luca again that night. But when she finally called a cab and rode home through the dark city, she could not stop thinking about dark eyes and the name of a book she already owned. The following week was ordinary by every external measure. Sofia attended lectures, filed a draft piece for her university paper, argued with her editor about word count, ate bad food at the library. She had a life with a rhythm, and the rhythm held. But something had shifted in the background of it. She found herself Googling Luca Cani at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. What she found was almost nothing, a name attached to 3 registered holding companies, a single photograph from a charity gala 4 years prior, no social media presence at all. For a man who appeared to be extraordinarily wealthy, he was extraordinarily invisible. That bothered her. Not personally. Professionally. It was the kind of absence that meant something. She was on campus Thursday afternoon, crossing the courtyard between lectures, when her phone rang. Unknown number. Sofia Reyes. Don't walk through the north gate tonight. Luca's voice. Flat, certain. Use the main entrance. I'm sorry. There are 2 men watching the north gate. I don't know if they're watching you specifically, but until I do, use the main entrance. A pause. Do you understand? Huh? How do you have this number? Camila. How do you know someone's watching the north gate? Because I've been having you watched since the party. To make sure you were safe. He said it without apology, like it was simply logical. I should have told you sooner. Sofia stopped walking. You've been watching me. Keeping an eye on. It's different. How exactly is it different? One of them is done by people who mean you harm. A beat. Use the main entrance, Sofia. He hung up. Sofia stood in the courtyard for a long moment. Then she turned around and walked to the main entrance. She told herself it was practical. She told herself it meant nothing. She did not entirely believe herself. That evening, she was at the library when she noticed the man. He was sitting 3 tables away with no open book in front of him, facing the door. His eyes tracked her twice in 10 minutes. Sofia packed her bag slowly, stood, walked to the exit. The man stood at the same moment. Outside, the campus was sparse. It was late. Most students already gone. Sofia walked quickly toward the main road, bag over one shoulder, phone already unlocked. Footsteps behind her. She spun around. The man stopped. He was older, mid-40s, stubble, a jacket 2 sizes too casual to belong here. Ms. Reyes. His voice was pleasant. That made it worse. I just have a couple of questions about your current research project. Who are you? A concerned party. You've been asking questions about shell corporations in the property sector. Some people would rather you didn't. That's how journalism works. Sofia's hands were completely steady. She had trained herself for this. The calm voice, the direct eyes. If you have concerns about my methodology, contact my editor at the... Walk away from the story. He was still pleasant. Still smiling. You're 21. You have a very long career ahead of you. Let this one go. Step back from me. Sofia raised her phone. Right now, or I'm calling the police. That would be. That's enough. Luca was there. She had not heard him approach. Nobody ever seemed to hear Luca approach. And now he was standing 10 feet away, and the temperature of the entire interaction had changed. The man in the jacket looked at him and went still. Walk away, Luca said. The pleasantness had gone out of the situation entirely. The man walked away. Sofia exhaled slowly and turned to face Luca. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't parse. Not quite relief, not quite guilt. Tell me what's happening, she said. I will. But not here. He glanced at the road. Come with me. That's the beginning of every bad decision anyone has ever made. I know. He met her eyes. Come anyway. She went anyway. He drove her to a restaurant that was quiet and private, the kind of place where the tables were far apart on purpose. They sat across from each other, and Luca said nothing until the waiter had gone. The man who approached you works for a property developer named Enzo Ferri. Ferri is the subject of your research piece. I know who he is. Sofia kept her voice level. How do you know I'm investigating him? Because Ferri has been on my radar for 2 years. When your name came up in connection with his people, I took notice. Your radar. Sofia leaned forward. What does that mean, exactly? What is it that you actually do, Luca? He was quiet for a moment. Outside, the city moved past the window. I run an organization, he said. One that operates primarily outside of the legal system. I control territory, I manage disputes, I move money. I am what people mean when they say organized crime, and I am aware that telling you this is either the most honest thing I've done in years or the most reckless. Sofia looked at him. Why tell me at all? Because you asked, and because you're in danger that's connected to my world, and you deserve to understand what you're in the middle of. Connected how? Ferri isn't just a corrupt developer. He launders money for several criminal organizations, including 2 that compete with mine. Your university investigation, has stumbled into something considerably larger than a student project. Luca wrapped his hands around his glass. If you publish what you have, you become a problem for people who deal with problems violently. And if I don't publish it, then you're safe, professionally intact, and none of this happened. You're telling me to kill my own story. I'm telling you what the cost of running it might be. Sofia sat back. The anger was clean and clear in her chest. I've spent 3 years building toward this. A piece like this gets noticed. It's the kind of work that builds careers, or should, except that apparently, it just builds targets. I know. There was something in his voice, not dismissal, but wait. Do you know what it's like to work for something your whole life? More than you might think. He looked at her directly. I'm not asking you to give it up permanently. I'm asking you to pause until I deal with Ferri through my own means. Then your story doesn't get you killed. And you get Ferri handled quietly, with no journalism involved. Convenient for you. Yes. He didn't pretend otherwise. It is convenient for me. That doesn't mean it's wrong. She stared at him. He stared back. Neither of them looked away. I need to think about it, Sofia said finally. That's fair. He signaled for the check. I'll have someone make sure you get home safely tonight. I don't need. Sofia. The way he said her name was different from how other people said it. Quieter. More deliberate. Please. She let him. Camila called the next morning. He told me he saw you. Her voice was careful, the voice she used when she was afraid of the answer. What happened? Someone from Ferri's team approached me on campus. Your brother showed up. Of course he did. A pause. Soul, I need you to listen to me very carefully. My brother is not someone you can get close to. Whatever you're thinking, whatever is happening in your head right now, you need to stop it. I'm not thinking anything. You are. I know you. I know that face you make when something gets inside your head and won't leave. I've been watching you make it since first year. Camila's voice cracked slightly. He ruins things, Soul. Everything he touches, people, plans, anything good, it ends. Not because he means for it to, but because of what he is and what comes with him. He saved me last night. He also put you in danger in the first place. The silence was heavy. He's my brother, and I love him, and I am telling you, stay away. Sofia was quiet for a moment. You knew what he was this whole time. Every year we've been friends, you've known. Yes. And you never told me. Because I didn't want it to affect us. Camila's voice was small. I wanted one thing in my life that was clean. They stayed on the line for a long moment, not saying anything. I hear you, Sofia said finally. I do. She did not tell Camila that hearing her and listening to her were two different things. She paused the story. She told herself it was temporary, a strategic hold while she gathered more evidence, more depth, more sources who couldn't be threatened. She told her editor she needed another 3 weeks. What she did not tell her editor was that one of the reasons was a man with dark eyes and a scar above his brow who left her voicemail on a Sunday afternoon that said, I hope you're writing other things. Don't let this be the only story you're telling. She called him back. They talked for 2 hours. About journalism and power, about the gap between what got published and what was true, about the books he had read that she had read, about what it meant to want something badly enough to scare yourself. At some point the conversation shifted, and she stopped noticing where the professional edge of it was. He asked to see her. She said yes. They met for dinner, a real dinner, the kind she recognized now as deliberate. He had chosen somewhere public but private, carefully unremarkable from the outside. You know this is a bad idea, Sofia said when they sat down. I know. Luca handed her a menu. Tell me about the piece you're not writing right now. That's a strange dinner conversation. You are a strange dinner companion. I mean that as a compliment. She talked about the story, the real one, the one underneath the property angle, the way money moved through systems designed to look clean, the way ordinary people paid the price for it while the architects of the system lived in penthouses on the 32nd floor. She was watching his face as she said it. You're including me in that, he said. I'm describing a system. You're part of it. I am. He didn't look away. Does that change anything? I don't know yet. She held his gaze. Does it change anything that I'm a journalist? No. He said it without hesitation. I knew what you were the moment Camila told me about you. It didn't stop me wanting to know you. Why did you want to know me? He was quiet for a moment, long enough that she knew the answer was something real. Because you walked into my study like you had every right to be there, and then you told me exactly what you were investigating as if you had nothing to hide, and I have not met anyone like that in a very long time. He picked up his glass. Possibly ever. Sofia felt the thing she had been trying not to feel settle into place with a quiet, final click. This is going to complicate everything, she said. Yes. My story. My career. Camila. All of it. He nodded. I won't pretend otherwise. So, why are we sitting here? Because I could not. He looked at her steadily. And I don't think you could either. She couldn't argue with that. The next 2 weeks moved in 2 registers at once. In one register, university, lectures, a new story she pitched about municipal corruption that her editor loved, ordinary life in its ordinary shape. In the other register, Luca. He was careful with her in a way she hadn't expected. He did not try to direct her, did not push her toward or away from her work. He asked questions and listened to the answers. He challenged her thinking on 3 separate occasions and was right each time, which she found both irritating and completely compelling. She asked him about his world with the same directness she brought to everything, and he answered more honestly than she had expected. My father built this over 30 years, he told her one night. They were in his study, the room where it had started, and he was moving around it the way he always did when he was being truthful about something like the words needed space. When he died, it came to me. I was 24. I had been trying to leave. I had gotten as far as accepting a position in Geneva when he had a heart attack and everything stopped. You could have still left. I could have. But the alternative was what came to power in my absence, and what came to power would have been significantly worse for a large number of people. He stopped by the window. I tell myself that. Some days I believe it. What do you believe on the other days? That I stayed because part of me had always known this was where I would end up. That I'm more like him than I want to be. He looked at her. That's not an easy thing to say to a journalist. I'm not recording this. I know. He crossed the room and sat down across from her. That's why I said it. The story broke before Sofia was ready for it. A rival publication ran a piece on Ferry, thin, incomplete, based on sources Sofia recognized as secondary. It was not her story, but it was close enough to hers that her editor called her at 7 in the morning, and the conversation was not good. You've been sitting on this for a month, her editor said. I gave you 3 extra weeks. Now someone else has half your story and you have nothing filed. My version is deeper, more documented. What they ran is published. Yours isn't. A pause that was not kind. Sofia, this was supposed to be the piece that defined your 4th year. The one that got you noticed. And you let it go. I didn't let it go. She stopped. She was what? Protecting herself from people who threatened her? Falling for the subject's brother? I needed more time. Time is the one thing you didn't have. Her editor's voice was even and final. I'm pulling your lead position on the spring edition. I need pieces I can count on. Sofia hung up and sat on the edge of her bed for a long time. This was what Camila had meant. Not a direct destruction. Nothing dramatic. Just the slow accumulation of compromises, the cost of choosing something that pulled her sideways, the career she had been building quietly dismantled one delayed decision at a time. She called Luca. I know, he said, before she could speak. Someone sent me the piece an hour ago. Someone sent it to you. I have people who monitor relevant coverage. Of course you do. Her voice was tight. I lost my lead position, Luca. I held the story because you told me to, and now someone else has it, and I have nothing. Sofia. Don't tell me it would have been worse. Don't give me the version where I published, and it was dangerous. Because right now I'm sitting here, and my career just took a hit, and the reason is standing on the other end of this phone. The silence that followed was long. You're right, Luca said. I cost you something. That's true, and I'm not going to argue with it. I need to think. She hung up. Camila appeared at her door that evening with food and the expression of someone who knew more than they were saying. He called me, Camila said, setting the food down. He never calls me. What did he say? That he owes you an apology and that he doesn't know how to give it without making it worse. Camila sat on the couch. He asked me if there was anything he could do. He can't fix this. It's not a security problem. I know. Camila looked at her carefully. Do you love him? Sofia opened her mouth. Closed it. That's an answer, Camila said quietly. I've known him for 6 weeks. Some people take 6 years and never get there. Some people take 6 weeks. Camila pulled her knees to her chest. I told you to stay away from him. I know. And I meant it. I still mean it. In the part of me that wants you safe and uncomplicated and far away from everything our family is. She paused. But the part of me that has known you for 3 years can see that this has already happened, and that part is trying to figure out how to not lose you over it. Sofia felt her eyes sting. You're not going to lose me. Don't make promises I haven't tested yet. But Camila reached over and squeezed her hand. What are you going to do about the story? Write it anyway. Deeper than what they ran. Better sourced. Submit it externally, a real publication, not just the university paper. Sofia looked at the window. If it's good enough, losing the lead position doesn't matter. The piece speaks for itself. And Luca? I don't know yet. She let 3 days pass before she went to see him. Luca opened the door and looked at her like he had not been certain she would come, and the relief in his face was brief and unguarded and more honest than anything she had seen from him. I'm writing the story, she said, before she was even inside. I'm finishing it and submitting it. I'm not holding it again. I know. He stepped back to let her in. I wouldn't ask you to. That might cause problems for you. Ferry and I have already come to an understanding. He's no longer a concern. Luca's voice was even. Write what you know. I won't stand in the way of it. Sofia looked at him. You're not afraid of what I might find. I've lived what you might find. I'm past being afraid of it being known. He sat down. What I'm afraid of is something considerably smaller and more specific. What? Losing you. He said it simply, like it was just a fact. I have managed to care about very few things in my life. Keeping them has always been complicated. But I would rather be honest about this and have you leave than pretend I don't care and have you stay. Sofia crossed the room. You don't get to ask me to choose between you and my work. I'm not asking that.
Good.
Because I wouldn't. She stopped in front of him. But I'm not leaving either. And you don't get to push me away every time things get difficult. I know. He reached up and took her hand, held it carefully, like it was something he didn't entirely trust himself with yet. I'm still learning how to do this. So am I. For the first time since she'd known him, Luca Cani smiled, a real one, not the controlled expressions she'd catalogued until now. It changed his entire face.
Stay, he said.
I'll make dinner. You cook. My grandmother taught me. He stood up, still holding her hand. She was the only good part of how I grew up. I try to keep what she gave me. Sofia looked at him. All of him. The man who ran things and frightened people and had read the same books she had and called to warn her about gates and cooked what his grandmother taught him and looked at her like she was the clearest thing in a very complicated world. Okay, she said. I'll stay. The story was published 4 months later in a national publication. It ran 6,000 words, was extensively sourced, and named Ferry as the central figure in a network of money laundering that touched 4 major property developments. The piece was shortlisted for a journalism award. Her university editor called to apologize. She was gracious about it. Camila called to say she had cried reading it, and that she was proud, and that she was still terrified, and that Sofia was the most infuriating person she had ever loved. Luca read it in the study where they had first spoken. He put it down and looked at her with an expression she had learned to read by now, the one that meant something had moved in him that he hadn't expected. It's excellent, he said. I know. She sat across from him. Part of it is because of you. The delay cost you something.
Yes.
And understanding the system from the inside made it better. She leaned forward. Both things are true at the same time. That's how this works. He was quiet for a moment. I've been talking to Matteo. He's been running legitimate investment operations for 7 years. Clean, compliant, profitable. He thinks what I have could be restructured. He looked at her. It would take years. It's probably impossible. But I want to try. What changed? You wrote 6,000 words about what this kind of money costs ordinary people, and I recognized every system you described, and I couldn't sit with that. He paused. I'm not doing it to become someone else. I'm doing it because you made me unable to not see it. Sofia felt something settle in her chest, quiet and permanent. I'm not going to write about you, she said. While we're this. It wouldn't be right. I know. He met her eyes. But I'm not going to ask you to stop writing the things you see. Even when they're close to me. What you do matters. I won't be the thing that makes you smaller. You almost were, she said honestly. I know. The weight of that was visible in him. I'm trying to earn the fact that you stayed anyway. They built something over the following year. Not perfect, not smooth, not the kind of thing that looked the same from every angle. There were nights Luca came home from situations that left marks she couldn't ask about. There were stories Sofia covered that made him go quiet in ways she understood were fear. There were arguments about boundaries and truth and the gap between what she could write and what she knew. But there were also mornings in the kitchen when he made coffee the way she liked it without being asked, and evenings working across the study from each other, and the particular quality of being seen completely by someone who chose to stay anyway. Camila became part of it too, slowly. She came for dinner on Sundays and complained about everything affectionately and told Luca he was a significantly better person than he used to be, which was her highest praise. I didn't ruin your career, Luca said one evening, out of nowhere. They were on the balcony, watching the city below. The title of this story might disagree with you, Sofia said, because that was how they talked now. The title is provocative. The ending is more complicated. The ending is still being written. What do you want the ending to be? Sophia looked at him, at the city, at the life that had become, against all logic and instinct, the one she would choose again. This, she said. I want the ending to be this. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. Below them, the city moved through the dark the way it always had, complicated, relentless, full of stories still waiting to be told. You stayed until the end, and that means you belong here. This is what the family does. If this story found something in you, hit subscribe and join us. The next story is already waiting for you. Don't miss it.